Clemson University is one of the hottest schools in the country. You guys are an amazing, special group to get into the seat that you're sitting in right now. 60,000 people tried to be where you are.
Nothing is as special as Clemson.
I think what I loved most is that I found a community here.
Clemson is one of those places where they say there's something in these hills, and it's truly everywhere I have lived. This is my gold standard, and everything is compared to Clemson University.
Being a part of this program has honestly been my motivation so that I can be able to be a mentor, like I can change the lives of kids just like me.
And so I don't think any of this would have been possible without the help of Clemson.
Very thankful for this opportunity to actually be able to come and get a higher education.
We're always trying to be on the cutting edge of social media research.
It's really taught me to go outside of my comfort zone. That's what I came into college to do.
The reason why Clemson is so special to me is the balance with research, classroom, social life. It's that you can do all these things. Clemson asks you to kind of be a great scholar, but then also a great community member.
More than 100 students now have contributed to our research in the Keys.
It's important to have a place like Clemson to really study how Clemson is enhancing these entrepreneurial efforts in the community, and we can see that in the various centers on campus.
Now, you have a responsibility. Davo and I show that it can be done in little old Clemson.
Now I'm a mentor for incoming freshmen who are in the STEM field, particularly engineering. Those kids, they're the future of this country, and they need someone they can look up to.
Clemson University is one of the hottest schools in the country. You guys are an amazing, special group to get into the seat that you're sitting in right now. 60,000 people tried to be where you are.
C is for Clemson, a small town in the upstate of South Carolina, nestled in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is more than just a place. It's home.
L is for love. That feeling you get when you come back home is love. You can find that at Clemson. A love where you're accepted. A love where you belong. A love that lasts a lifetime. E is for exciting.
Exciting. 25 seconds in college football.
If you've been here for any amount of time, you felt it. The anticipation on the drive back to campus, the smell of the grill at the tailgate, the thrill of witnessing unforgettable moments with 80,000 of your closest friends.
M is for memories. They're the moments that stay with us forever. Early morning walks to campus, late nights at the library, your first game or your 100th.
S is for something. There's something in these hills. A something that we can't quite define, but we feel it.
Never gets old. Never gets old.
We feel it in every inch of campus, every friendly smile, and every warm embrace.
O is for orange. It's the color that unites us. The color you notice when you're away that reminds you of home. Solid, confident, Clemson.
N is for no. There's no place like home. Home is where family gathers. Home is a place that nurtures us, shapes us, and helps us grow.
Ladies and gentlemen,
is more than
please move to your seats as the ceremony will begin shortly.
And then singing the alma mater arm in arm. It's It's hard to describe, but easy to feel. And no matter where life takes you, you can always come back home. You can always come back to Clemson.
Discover the traditions that define the Clemson spirit. Today we're diving into a beloved Clemson tradition, the alma mater. The roots of this cherished song trace back to Clemson's early military days. Back then, freshmen were rats and wore rat caps. During football games, they waved those caps in the air to show their Tiger spirit. The tradition of waving your hand in the air with your thumb folded underneath as if you're holding a cap pays tribute to those days. But the alma mater isn't just about our past. It's about our shared commitment to Clemson's values and enduring pride as Tigers. And there's one more special moment tied to our alma mater, graduation. As graduating students, you'll have the opportunity to sing the alma mater together during your commencement ceremony. It's a powerful and emotional way to close out your Clemson journey surrounded by your fellow Tigers. And remember to raise your hand at the lyric, "O'er the mountain high, and not before." So whether you're at a football game or standing with your fellow graduates, remember that it's a symbol of our shared Clemson spirit and deep connection to our beloved university. Go Tigers!
The power of one.
Welcome. Please stand if you are able. The processional will begin with the members of the faculty of Clemson University entering the seating area of the Coliseum Club. Now entering the arena is Clemson University's graduating class of 2025. The stage party is being led by the Clemson University Marshal, Dr. Sarah White. Please remain standing. Approaching the podium is the Registrar of Clemson University, Rock McCaskill.
The posting of the colors is being performed by Company C4 of the Clemson University Pershing Rifles. It will be followed by the singing of our national anthem, led by Anna Grace Stiltner, graduating senior in Performing Arts. Gentlemen, please remove your caps for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
Welcome. I hereby open Clemson University's graduation ceremony. Today, those who the faculty of Clemson's colleges and schools have recommended to the provost and to the president for graduation will come forward to receive the congratulations of the president. Clemson University is pleased to provide open captioning and American Sign Language interpreting for today's ceremony. I would like to invite Sarah Cuthrill, a junior in marketing, to the podium for the invocation.
Let us pray. God, thank you for today and all the tireless days that came before. We thank you for giving these graduates strength as you have led them to this exciting point in their journey. We give thanks as they walk across this stage and for all the people that you have brought into their lives to help them become the men and women they are today. We thank the parents and loved ones who have sacrificed greatly and provided love and support in reaching this milestone. Thank you for providing friendships made who have walked with them through the good times and the bad. Thank you for the faculty, staff, and administrators who helped shape these leaders into inspiring young leaders. Thank you for the university for providing these graduates a safe place to learn and an incredibly strong foundation to build upon as they go forward into the world. Today, we also pray for tomorrow. Grant them courage to embrace the challenges ahead, wisdom to make sound decisions, and compassion to serve others. May their aspirations be guided by integrity, empathy, and a commitment to excellence. As they embark on new journeys, may they never forget the values instilled in them and the infinite possibilities that await. May they always remember that they have a home in you and here in Clemson. Please be their guide and their guard as the class of 2025 continue on their journey. Amen.
You may be seated. My name is Bob Jones, and I'm the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost for Clemson University. It is now my honor to introduce a teacher, a scholar, a national leader in higher education who has brought Clemson University to new heights in its reputation and positive impacts on our state and nation, the 15th President of Clemson University, Dr. James P. Clements.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, and thank you for the great job you are doing as our Executive Vice President and Provost. Would you please help me thank this fine gentleman for his leadership? Well, good evening, go Tigers. Good evening, go Tigers. Will you please give a big, loud round of applause to Anna Grace for the great job she did singing the national anthem. By the way, Anna Grace has been doing this all week for us, and she graduated yesterday. So congratulations to Anna Grace. And welcome to this very special master's degree ceremony. Let me start by saying to all who are graduating today, I'm really proud of you, and I'm really happy for you. And I'm truly honored to be here with you on your special day. And I'm thrilled that we're together to be able to celebrate you as you walk across this stage and properly mark this important milestone in your life. You did it. You made it to the finish line. Graduation is one of the most special days in the life of a university. Today we recognize your hard work and your incredible accomplishments and the value and the importance of graduate education at Clemson. We appreciate the contributions that you have made through your studies and your research that is driving innovation and generating new ideas and expanding the knowledge base of Clemson and the world. As you know, graduate education is a very challenging and demanding process. Only 14% of the U.S. adult population has earned a graduate degree, so congratulations. And I know that you had a lot of people who helped you and who supported you along the way. So let's take a moment to recognize the family members and friends who nurtured you, who supported you, and who helped to make this day possible. To all of the moms and the dads, the spouses, the grandparents, the children, the siblings, the aunts and the uncles, and the friends and the mentors who are here with you today, you honor us and these graduates with your presence. I think you all deserve a very loud round of applause. And since Mother's Day is this weekend, I feel it is appropriate for me to acknowledge the greatest teacher in my life, my mother, who passed away 14 years ago. Would you please join me in thanking all of the moms who are here today who love us, nurture us, and teach us so much. Speaking of family, others wanted desperately to be here, but some were unable to be with us. In some special cases, these family members have been called to serve our great country. This high calling has caused some to miss this important day in your life. We are grateful for their service and their sacrifice. We also thank those members of the graduating class who serve this great nation. These veterans, active service members, and newly commissioned officers from the Army and Air Force ROTC programs are distinguished by the red, white, and blue cords that they wear today. I would like to ask all in the arena who have served and those who are currently serving in our armed forces to please stand and accept our deep thanks. I know that some guests here tonight have returned to their alma mater to witness family and loved ones join them as Clemson alumni. If you are a graduate of this great university, please stand so we can welcome you home. I want to recognize and thank our incredible faculty and dedicated staff whose commitment to excellence in teaching, research, and service help to ensure your success here at Clemson. If you are a faculty or staff member here today, will you please stand and be recognized? I would also like to extend a special congratulations to any of our faculty or staff members who are receiving their master's degrees tonight. In preparing for today's ceremony, I thought back on my own academic experience. I remember my elementary school teachers calling me professor because I was a very serious student and I wanted to help the others learn the subject matter. And I remember my first day as an undergraduate student sitting in the classroom, listening to my professor, and I knew at that moment that's exactly what I wanted to be. That was and still is my dream job. Little did I know at that time just how much effort and hard work it would take to qualify for my dream job. And I remember one of the most important lessons that I learned from my parents, and that was the importance of a college education. My parents didn't have the opportunity to go to college due to financial constraints, but they did instill in me and my three older siblings the value of a quality education. They urged us to be passionate about the transformational, life-changing power of education. We were the first generation in my family to go to college, and we were taught that education was the path to a better life, not just for an individual, but for society as a whole. And we listened. Between me and my three older siblings, we actually earned 11 college degrees, including 7 graduate degrees and 1 honorary doctorate. And I believe one of the proudest days for my parents was the day that my brother and I received our graduate degrees together, side by side, on stage. I hope that tonight is equally as memorable and special for you as you receive your advanced degree. We are privileged to have with us this evening several members of the University Board of Trustees. I would like to ask each to please stand as I call their name and remain standing until all have been called. I ask that you please wait to show your appreciation until all have been introduced. Mrs. Kim Wilkerson, Chair of the Board. Dr. Lewis Lynn. Dr. Ronnie Lee. Dr. J.J. Britton, Trustee Emeritus, and Mr. Alan Wood, Trustee Emeritus. Would you please help me thank them for their leadership? We also have with us several executive officers. As I read their name, I'd like to ask each to please stand and remain standing until I have introduced them all. Again, I ask that you please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Dr. Robert H. Jones, Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. Dr. Doug Hallenbach, Vice President for Student Affairs. And Mrs. April Purvis, Executive Secretary to the Board of Trustees. Would you please help me thank them for all that they do?
It is my pleasure to now recognize our academic leaders. Please hold your applause until I have introduced them all. Dr. John Lopes, Dean of the Graduate School. Dr. Eche Erdomus, Founding Dean of the College of Architecture, Art, and Construction. Dr. Joel Williams, Associate Dean for Graduate Studies in the College of Behavioral, Social, and Health Sciences. Ms. Wendy York, Dean of the Wilbur O. and Ann Powers College of Business. Dr. Kristen Gessman, Dean of the College of Education. Dr. Daniel Nonaker, Senior Associate Dean in the College of Engineering, Computing, and Applied Sciences. Mr. Rock McCaskill, the University Registrar. Dr. Sarah White, President of the Faculty Senate and Clemson University Marshal, and Ms. Victoria Miller, the Vice President for the Staff Senate. Please help me thank these individuals for their support of our students.
Tuesday, we hosted our doctoral commencement ceremony. In all, 130 students were eligible to participate in the doctoral ceremony, representing 32 degree programs and 9 countries. Let's take a moment to congratulate these newest doctoral degree recipients. I'd like to ask the candidates for the master's degree or educational specialist degree to please stand. That's all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my immense pleasure to present to you the master's class of 2025. By the authority vested in me by the Clemson University Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of the faculty, I hereby confer upon you the master's degree or educational specialist degree with all of the rights and privileges appertaining thereto, and as testimony thereof, I present you with a diploma from the university. Congratulations. It's now my pleasure to invite each graduate, beginning with the first row on this side, to come forward and be recognized. All others may be seated at this time.
And now, candidates in the College of Agriculture, Forestry, and Life Sciences. Kavi Raj Awasti. Brianna Nicole Billy. Lara Elizabeth Burke. Haley Elizabeth Campbell. Meredith Ann Clem, Sharon Elizabeth Cole, Sarah Ellen Cook, Dustin Sean Corbridge, Alexandria Golden Dow, Sierra Marie Earl, Samantha Rose Egley, Tara Marie Ewers, Dawei Feng, Mary Catherine Gillespie, Zoe Josephine Hammis, Shelby Louise Hammond,
Casey Marie Kyberry,
Allison Nicole Karamas, Katie Elizabeth Kirkman,
Annika Josephine Kuliba,
Hunter Calvin Lee, Jenna Grace Lines, Jessica Hope Lines, Rachel Elizabeth McHugh, Margaret Grace Milani, Emily Carter Morrison, Dylan Morrison, Bronwyn Elizabeth Mulligan, Jeffrey D. Mundell, Cheyenne Alexa Nagy, Davis George Nelson, Mallory Ann Nichols, Nicholas Adrian Patterson, Nicholas Alden Plaisted, Garner Barrett Powell,
Alexandra Marie Rete,
Shubham Singh, Jessica Siroy, Emma Lee Stopka, Christopher Lee Thomas, Meredith Lee Tucker, Catherine Ann Valente, and now, candidates in the College of Architecture, Art, and Construction. Daniela Ama Agbeko,
Morena M. Atala,
Roshan Rahul Bandiwadekar, Sedinam Annie Barney, Nicholas Scott Beck, Erica Simone Bain, Carter Alana Bertram, Grace Abigail Bowar, Madison Reed Brigman, Julia Campbell, Heather Cogdell Touchberry, Vaishnavi Deepak Chavan,
Rishabh Mahesh Chopda,
Mahogany Angelina Christopher, Casey Lee Cole, Carson James Cone, Jared Havens Cook,
Mano Marie Ines Paul Corbon,
Taylor Cox,
Hannah Elise Cuttle, Janelle Petit Eastman,
Valerie Nicole Evans, Guadalupe Franchi, Julia Scarinci Elliott, Andrew Fulmer, Susanna Shenandoah Greiner, Carly Ann Hannestad, Nadia Christina Hartman, Alyssa Marie High, Nor Hoy Myers, Paige Thompson, Haley Louise Howell, Claire Ann Hussey, Jermaine David Johnson,
Caroline Ann Kasher,
Altaf Hussein, Chloe Jacqueline Kaminsky, Mina Keshaverzi, Aaron Mitchell Kuss, Jennifer Lair, Jordan Allen Livingston, Satya Kishan Matlapudi, Seth Allen Moore, Charles Morrison, Griffin John Natty, James Edward Newman III, Matthew Ngango, Amanda Nix, Joseph Luis Ostapau, Chinmay Avinash Patil, Elizabeth Pruden, Jared Raskin, Pooja Ravindranath, Elise Irene Reinhart, Britton Southard Riddle,
Catherine Rizzola,
Joel Thornwell Rogers, Anna Christine Rowell,
Ana Sandoval Aguilar,
Melissa Sanger,
Rachel Lynn Schroeder, Rustin Davis Sile,
Catherine Elise Sheen, William Clay Shahan, Molly Corinne Speth, Harrison Richard Stewart, Cameron Carter Sunkel, Coley John Harwood Taberson, Kimia Omani, Kamand Taherkhani, Roger Thaddeus Cross Nana Guild, Elliot Reuben Tischler, Michael Glenn Tyler, Lauren Beth Updegrove, Barry Walt Wiseman, Caroline Gardner Woodard. And now, candidates in the College of Arts and Humanities. Samuel Ayomikun Adewumi, Benjamin Oluwakeyode Akinlabi, Cameron Jordan Bruce, Mackenzie Catherine Crowley, Matthew Dean Girardeau, Jacob Samuel Havers, Elizabeth Henderson, Bria Hudson, Dora Helen Impson,
Paige Marie Magato, Grace Sinclair Mahalik, Zaina Ann Nate Omar,
Emma Blair Pinson, Jennifer Denise May Terry,
Adriana Cherise Witcher, Ashton K. Ronikowski,
and now, candidates in the College of Behavioral, Social, and Health Sciences. Sundos Al-Ali, Anthony Alvarado Buttress, Jansen Brian Anderson, Terrence Amankatoa Asidibasi, Alea Bailey, Mitchell Dean Beavers, Marissa Claire Bennett, Nicole Rose Culpepper, Angela Encardone,
Summer Serene Evans,
Erin Zoe Glass,
Lady Grahalis Tubon,
Emma Margaret Harris, Victoria Elizabeth Hill, Sydney Amber Hopkins, Matthew Hughes, Caroline Kelly Jeffries, Aisha B. Khan, Victor Luckeen, Nuruddin Sigun Lawal, Alexis Rose Marion Lemaire, Richard Joseph Lorenz, Shay Antoinette Mazik, Laura Abigail McJunkin, Sydney Elizabeth McMillan, Alexis Tate Merriman, Haley Marie Mitchell,
Nicole Nellis, Miriam Niazi,
Amarachi Henrietta Okoronkwo, Madison Nicole Ott,
Kyla Jonasia Shimei Rainey,
Gabrielle Rufrano, Leah Renee Sanders,
Naomi Rose Schneebaum,
Jalen Terrell, and now, candidates in the Wilbur O. and Ann Powers College of Business. Courtney Nicole Acker, Kate Ansley Epley, Caitlin Elise Anthony, Bridget Louise Barnes, Matthew Atwood Barnes, Andrew Barton, Brooke Elizabeth Beckwith, William Grant Boggs, Brian Boykin,
Mia Fallon Carrillo,
Paige Autumn Corliss, Hudson Campbell Crabtree, Ian Edward Cuddy, Stuart Smallwood Dalton,
Madeline DePauli,
Mackenzie Ann Duff, Clinton Walker English, Kimberly Gray Evans, Trey Evander Folks, William Hanna, Sophia Georgia Hatton, William A. Hawkins, John Carlo Drueco Honeycutt, Zachary David Howard, Antonio Illuminato, Eve Grace Jackson, Kyle Gregory Keary, Tara King,
Lauren Elizabeth Knopf,
Laurel Grace Kunkel, Luke Evan LaGrose, Madison Brooke Lewis, Whitney Smith Long, Brendan Charles Luto,
Jackson William Mann,
William Andrew Mastrone, Matthew Daniel McDonnell, Sydney Christine Minarek, Mia Catherine Mitchell,
Jordan Olivia Murphy.
Aryan Nahar, Lindsay Elizabeth O'Connell, Presley Brooke Owen,
Angela Rose Pantusco,
Camilla Biddy,
Kenneth Joseph Puidak,
Elizabeth Ann Reed,
Melissa Lauren Reynolds, Darian Malik Richardson,
Carlin May Ripperda, Kennedy Ann Robinson, Taylor Salmon,
Marissa Rux Scarnato,
Ibuke Seskin, Benjamin Lucas Shaw, Jason Carl Shelley, Taylor Shelley, Caroline Elizabeth Skeels,
Corinna Claire Smith,
Lyle Scarborough Stevens,
Madeline Stewart,
Kyle Sutherland, Haley Vaughn Talbert, Abigail Taylor, Zane Michael Taylor, Chloe Wilkes Tolson, Nathan Andrew Toops, Justin Henry Trammell, Sonia Stephanie Vera, Natalie Vall, Eleanor Wilbanks Walter, Liao Wang,
Shelby Elizabeth Wanzer,
Kaylee Jordan Weaver, Phoebe Webb, Caleb David Whitaker, Olivia Faith Yarborough, Jasmine Young, and now, candidates in the College of Education. Glynis Fellers Abraham, Catherine Acorn,
Jason Forrester Allbeck,
Mary Ashley Alexander, Quinn Nicole Allen, Kelly Lynn Anglin, Jennifer Ann Antley, Madison Nicole Armstrong, Allison Elizabeth Arnold, Emily Freeman Asbell, Emily Ruth Baker, Joy Taylor Danielle Ballard, Sydney Ann Barnett, Emily J. Wooster, Kirsten Ann Beals, Sydney O'Neill Bellamy,
Lauren Elizabeth Bender,
Sarah Jean Louise Birchtold, Madison Abigail Berry, Jessica Blackwell, Amanda Drew Bolt, Mallory Wade, Kendall Ray Borland, Emma Catherine Stockton Bostick, Erica Burtz Brewster, Caleb D. Sean Brown, Brandy Naomi Thompson, Rachel Lee Burton, Scarlett Haley Cartret, Mallory Jean Case, Morgan Donald Chambers, Bailey Ann Cheriker, Emily Cheyenne Charles,
Andrea Carolina Chavez,
Adiba Chaudhary, Lauren Chu, Emily Elizabeth Close, Rebecca Lynn Cobb, Isabella Lynn Colasanti, Ryan C. Corey, Natalie Noel Cody, Leanne Wall Crawford, Thomas William Crowley, Jacob Keenan Curtis, Benjamin Michael Dadsey, Andrew Stockman Darby Jr., Sally Elizabeth Darby, Grace Elizabeth Davidson, Charlotte Catherine Davis, Chloe Elizabeth Dragos, Sarah Lane Dubose, Isabel Rebecca Duncan, Margaret Briggs Edmonds, Catherine Jane Ekstrand, Alan Reese Elgin, Natalia Segarra, Annie Lynn Erbacher, Emily Renee Estridge, Jadarius Stefan Evans, Layla Robin Fisher, Sydney Catherine Flater, Emma Dell Fletcher, Elizabeth Key Frederick, Rachel Elizabeth Freeman, Meredith Metz Fulmer, Billy R. Gaines,
Jacqueline Irene Garcia Munoz,
Mary Catherine Garrett, Alan Alexander Geiger III, Catherine Elizabeth Gerber, Randy Stephen Gilstrap, Jr., Rachel Elizabeth Glenn, Taylor Marie Green, Emily Edwards Greer, Allison Ray Gresham,
Kamaria Brianna Hammonds,
Noah Tarleton Harvin, Abigail Elizabeth Hawkins, Rebecca Ann Hayes, Abigail Hope Heaney, Elizabeth Page Hill, Riley Suzanne Hodge,
Emma Christine Hogue,
Caroline Danielle Hopkins, Cameron Renee Hubbard, Mackenzie Danielle Huckabee, Chase Lee Hughes, Miranda Isabella Hurt, Laura Ann Infield, Justin Tyler Johnson, Kelly Marie Johnson, Caroline Elizabeth Johnston, Catherine Grace Jolly, Madison Victoria Jones, Dara Lynn Kaiser, Jacqueline Wiggins Kaminer, Jerry Alexandria Kinlaw, Anna Riley Clace, Vivian Bentz Knighton, Jaylee Eva Knowles, Caitlin Kozimbo, Nellie Jane Lackey, Grayson Catherine Lamb, Namor Elizabeth LaMonica, Izzy Lee,
Sophia Rose Lasendo,
True Allah Tashim Lyles, Abigail Rose List, Ansley Morgan Lowe, Caroline Elizabeth Mack, Taj Aaron MacPete, Jacob Curtis Scott Maddox, Richard Amponsa Manu, Andy Ray Martin, Jessica Catherine Martin,
Isabel Ray Mazzatelli,
Mariah F. McCarter, Taylor Nicole McCarthy, Ansley Lauren McLean, Sheridan Christy McRae, Kira Elizabeth McLaughlin, Zoe Bell McNellis, Alejandro Mejia Tejada, Cheyenne Marie Melton, Kaylani Gabrielle Merton, Grace Lindley Miller,
Amy Wicker Milstead,
Abigail Eliza Morton, Marilyn Mozena, Nikki Jasmine Norrain,
Alessandra Lucia Nash, Grace Ann Owenbrink.
Roxana Graciela Jimenez Ortiz. Lauren Christine Ostrowski. Ashley Faith Owens. Ashton Taylor Palencia. Eileen Marie Palmer. Theodora Palmer. Emily Cooper Paul. Anna Catherine Pellicci. Brenna Gail Perry. Jordan Olivia Perry. Joshua Stanley Phillips. Allison Nicole Pierce. Cora Jean Piotrowski. Alexander R. Polataiko. Hunter Poulin. Jackie Paulus. Helen Ellison Pruitt. Morgan McCall Rains.
Ryan Rial.
Claire Marie Rhine. Mackenzie Grace Rivero. Jalen Rivers. Wayne Allen Rivers. Nathan Redmond Gary Roper. Diamond Jaquel Sanders.
Haley Jean Sanders.
Andrew Francis Seifert. McKinley Reed Sellers. Savannah Denise Sheely. Matthew Clark Simmons. Samantha June Singletary. Lauren Riley Smith. Mary Grace Smith. Avery Lynn Stoneman. Donald J. Moore. Marissa Chandler Swedberg. Abigail Grace Sylvester. Nicole Lee Taylor. Margaret Jill Teal. Vasilia V. Sabonieres. Nathan Miguel Turcott. Addison Gray Waldrop. Emily Fields Walker. Jacqueline Lynette Walker. Connor Weir. Stephanie Gray Wells. Indigo Ray Young. Lindsay Grace Youngquist.
Jesus Zavala.
And now, candidates in the College of Engineering, Computing and Applied Sciences. Sairam Yadav. Mark Narti Abuanor, Joshua Gaurav Adhikari, Aditya Agrawal, Iwinosa Winifred Idean, Sushendhar Reddy Akali, Fardifa Fathmil Alam, Ravi Teja Aluri, Sidesh Sunil Amberkar, Holly Elizabeth Amel, Adithan Anbovanan, Akshatha Arkit, Kanish Vijay Arunkumar, Bharath Barma, Mohammed Uzair Bati,
Danish Munir Ahmed Bakhkar,
Arya Rupesh Pat, Shri Harshitha Bhavana, Vaibhav Sanjay Boite, Prathamesh Jairam Bhutada, Srinivas Biaguda, Samuel Todd Blackwell, Kiara Christina Michelle Blake Wade, Anna Grace Boone, Bharadwaj Srinivas Pocha, Timothy James Brodsky, Daniel Jordan Brown, James Jennings Browning,
Corinne Cecilia Castelli,
Alvaro Antonio, John Anil Chandler, Lakan Keshav Chauhan, Dinesh Chebolu, Pravalika Chikatimalla, Durga Pradep Chipurapalli,
Meghna Priya Chenna, Connor Lee Shignell,
Lathan Thomas Childers, Pratik Chowdavarpu, Sullivan Ashby Clare, Miller Riley Clement, Justin Allen Caldwell, Parth Jagdish Dubby,
Linjiel Dai,
Srivamsi Dandu, Sri Siva Sai Krishna Dara, Rohan Davis, Miriala Deepthi, Janil Harshal Desai, Mandar Sunil Deshmukh,
Sandeep Dami,
Abhishek Nilesh Dende, Ashish Mahavir Dongde, Zachary Mitchell Dolan, Samuel Brielle De Silva,
George Hayward Dunlap IV,
Ayushman Dutta,
John Matthew Eggemeyer V,
Michael Scott Elrod, Benjamin David Engstrom, Catherine Elizabeth Feaster, David Fernandez, Aishwarya Gadam, Apurva Gadam, Venkat Punith Gandam, Shandu Preya Goala, Kiran Suryakant Godse, Jaya Raju Gorella, Ivy Parks Gray, Sai Sri Harsha Gridaluru, Mahesh Babu Guduru,
Sahil Santosh Gugale,
Shri Krishna Suraj Gulkota, Mohan Krishna Gunda,
Mary Love Guerreri,
Isabella Grace Henning, George Kevin Higgins, Lauren Elise Hodges, Cassandra Ray Hoffman,
Adharva Ramesh Jadhav,
Shivangani Pramod Jaiswal, Sai Karthik Jaladanki, Sai Siddharth Jaladanki, Sudarshan Jatavalabha Venkatram,
Swapnil Samir Joshi,
Pritam Vinay Jujavarapu, Tianyu Fu, Prasad Dilaprao Kadam, Hams Ahmed Kamil, Guru Datha Kendanathi Chitam, Achuth Kanduri, Ravindu Tharanga Pereira Kankanyagye Dawn, Priyanka Mahadeo Katekar, Erin Marie Kennedy, Kunal Santosh Kaladkar, Vedant Shashikant Karat,
Piyush Arun Karmale,
Dipti Rajesh Kedkar,
Zachary Brockman Kokert,
Harsh Suhas Kongre, Shantanu Mahesh Kore, Aditya Kothavade, Venkata Durga Naga Sai Pranith Kothamasu, Sri Chandana Kovelamudi, Adam Garrett Krasnecki,
Rithika Reddy Kuchanpali,
Sohrab Milind Kulkarni, Sandesh Sudhakar Kamawat, Nikhil Kumar Reddy Kumatha, Akshay Ulhas Lad,
Ajinkya Yogata Anil Lacker,
Harrison Garrett Langpole, Katie M. Lacqua, Nicholas A. Larkin, Emily Elizabeth Latanzio, Viran Lingala, Robert Booth Lowery Jr.,
Val Lasco,
Joseph Edmund Lukens.
Sai Hiranmai Machavolu.
Bonur Mampaka. Srinathan Manikandan.
Elijahwan Tavis Mirage.
Audrey Elizabeth Martone. Sohini Mazumder. Robert Jess McDaniel. Matthew Thomas McDonald. Anish Girish Meher. Karthik Menon. Sarah Cathcart Miller. Ananda Prasad Rao Malugu. Rishikesh Sunil Mojumdar.
Shashvita Mule.
Venkatasai Charan Munagala. Jeswanth Mutiala. Vinith Nadakude. Krishna Sai Nagineni. Akshay Arvind Nagvankar.
Shubham Ashok Nafde.
Vishnu Sai Nara. Shubham Satish Narale. Maitre Atul Narkade. Horan Turki Nassar. Agraj Nawade. Sandali Sanjay Nemaniwar. Sartak Nikal.
David Novo.
Saikumar Odeti. Kenneth Ofonsu Kwabe. Ayodeji Arnold Olaseinde. Omkar Ashwin Kumar Pachange. Kalen Christian Paquette. Sankara Narayanan Parameswaran. Gopi Pasupuleti. Gaurav Girish Patel. Joel Tarek, Pathy Joseph Bernard. Neha Rajendra Patil.
Poonam Kailash Patil. Siddhant Arun Patil.
Siddharth Prashant Patil. Snehal Prashant Patil.
Hemant Reddy Pedapatla. Siddharth Reddy Pendley.
Sai Venkatasuroj Perry. Emily Kathleen Petty. Lauren Elizabeth Phillip. Charles Elliott Phillips. Pooja Pokuri. Vinay Ponagodi. Matthew Elliott Powell. Geetha Krishna Puligundla. Sai Kumar Punugapati. Aiden John Quinn. Rohith Raghunath.
Pallavi Raguri.
Nikhil Raj. Pavani Rajanala. Vishwas Reddy Ramidi. Harsh Ravi Varapu, Basant Regmi, Jose Rentas, Nathan Franklin Rayner, Karma Jeanette Rini, Frederick Alexander Rowell, Andrew Russell, Nishit Somnath Salian, Jayadev Sampagavi,
Bharat Rajashekar Sampat Kumar,
Venkata Sai Suha Samudrala, Marissa Renee Sauls, Mahlaha Fazeli, Kimia Savoji, Farhad Shams, Daniel Skarnovac, Plaban Kumar Saha,
Fujela Shanaj,
Parth Paras Shah, Sharath Vemula Pali, Anand Anil Shinde, Pravin Vijay Shinde,
Lekana Chowdhury Singhamanini,
Pooja Singh, Utkal Sirikonda, Shweta Sivakumar, Kason Jonathan Smith, Mark William Spiegel, James Sebastian Stafford, Ashwin Sudhakar, Muralidharan Sundara Raman, Siddhi Sunil, Ulashvaran Sureshvaran, Namrata Nitin Surve, Varun Rajiv Talwalkar,
Gayatri Tataneni, Devon Marie Taylor,
Joanna Siobea Timeng,
Atharva Tilwankar, Thayajjeep Aku,
Pranav Unnikrishnan, Varshita Vankadaru, Yashwanth Viramaneni, Venkatesh Vemavarapu,
Atish Venkatachalam Parthaban,
Kalyani Vidudala, Elizabeth Volmi, Atharv Udava Wag, Rahul Vundamodugula, Abigail Grace Wagner,
Swapnil Bipin Wankeda.
Alexa Nicole Wachinski. Parker Alexander Welsh. Noah Gibson Whitfield. Miles Alexander Wyke. Duolikun Wuwedan. Akesh Yadav. Haonan Zhang.
Carol Michael Zeminski.
And now, candidates in the College of Science. Jason Allen Anderson. Thomas Buchlow.
Panwira Arechilage Donna Santoni Ponema Caldera.
Tyler James Cato. Narasingha Nawarath Nalagi. Dulshan Malshika. Naomi Osaromen Edegbi. Joseph Evans.
Jenna Elise Figueredo.
Harrison Fisher. Victoria Luongo Fisher. Claudia Edeline Gonzalez.
Casey Ione Harold.
Megan Alexis Higgs. Gabrianne L. Ivy. Andrew Stephen Keynes. Jeremy Andrew Kiesler. Hannah Kurtausch. Ivy Lauber. Colette LeBlanc. Allison Bryn Ludlow. Tyler Fitzgerald Moore. Ryan E. Molday. Victoria Ann Murphy. Bridget Noel Murphy. Stephen Joseph Murray.
Mukta Niyogi.
Oluwafaranmi Adabola Ogunlaye. Dia Diptesh Patel. Riddhi Patel. Mark Allen Rimkus. Brandon Tilmothy Sanders. Hannah Michelle Skinner. Preston Stevenson. Jamie Elizabeth Strahan.
Melissa Bosley Taylor.
Alexander Joel Turpin. Alicia Ann Van Horn. Rian Wilson. And now, candidates in the College of Graduate Studies. Philip Thomas Addington II. Joseph Adam James. Alex Meinhard.
How about another loud round of applause for our newest master's degree recipients? I would now like to invite Will Brasington, Chief Executive Officer for the Clemson Alumni Association, to the stage.
Appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's great to be here with you on such a special occasion. On behalf of the Clemson Alumni Association, it's my honor to officially welcome each of our graduates to the Clemson alumni family. Today is indeed a special milestone. It marks the beginning of the next phase of your lifelong relationship with Clemson. I know as you prepare to leave here today, you will begin new adventures in places across the country and around the globe as you start new jobs. Some of you may continue your education, still others may enlist in service organizations, but no matter where life takes you, let me urge each of you to make every effort to maintain a connection with Clemson. You see, the future of our alma mater is only stronger and brighter with each of you playing an active role in it. And there's many ways that you can consider doing that. Perhaps join a Clemson club at a place that you will call home in the future, or you could mentor students who one day, not long from now, may walk in your footsteps pursuing the very same degree you've just attained. Maybe you consider philanthropically supporting a program or a thing here at our wonderful institution that has meant so much to you. Or it could be so simple as just coming back to this beautiful campus as often as you can to reminisce and reunite with your classmates. Whatever you choose to do, whenever you choose to do it, please know that your Clemson Alumni Association exists to help maintain that special connection for you. Whenever you need something from Clemson, simply be in touch with the Alumni Association. We'll be there for you. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge one other special aspect of this important day, graduation day. Each of you have earned the right to wear the Clemson ring, and many of you may be wearing yours right now. Leading up to graduation, you have no doubt been wearing your ring so that when you look at it, the sea and the palmetto tree face upwards, staring right back at you. On today's occasion, we celebrate the turning of the ring, a long-standing tradition tied to our precious ring. So I encourage each of you to turn to a fellow alum, a friend, a family member, someone who means a great deal to you and perhaps has helped support you getting to this special occasion in your life, and have them turn your ring for you so that the sea and the palmetto tree, after being turned face outward, as if to proclaim on your behalf to the whole world that you graduated from one of the absolute best universities in the land. We're all very proud of you. Thank you for allowing me to join you for this special occasion. And on behalf of more than 190,000 living alumni around the world, I say congratulations, welcome to the family, and go Tigers.
Thank you, Will. Congratulations again to the class of 2025. We know that you will make us proud. And more importantly, we know that you will make a difference in the world. And I hope that your Clemson experience has been everything that you hoped that it would be, and that we taught you more than your academic subjects. I hope that we challenged you and inspired you to think critically and to be engaged with your community and the world and to make a positive difference every single day. And I hope that we inspired you to fiercely forward lead the way. You just earned your master's degree or educational specialist degree from our Carnegie Research Tier 1 University, a very prestigious group of universities in the United States, classified as having the highest level of research activity. You leave this university with exceptional academic credentials. And again, I encourage you to use your talents and your education to make a positive difference. I want you to look, all of you, to look at the gold medallion that you received today in celebration of 100 years of graduate education here at Clemson, and really think about what it says, making the difference. It doesn't say trying to make a difference. It says making the difference. And that's my challenge to each and every one of you. Make the difference. You never know the impact that you might have in someone's life. They might even become a Clemson Tiger and earn a degree, just like you did tonight. Some of you also earned your undergraduate degree at this great university, and you already know that a Clemson degree is highly regarded around the globe. And you know that the Clemson family is very real and very special. For those of you who earned your previous degree at another institution, today you become a Clemson alumnus, and as Will said, you join a family of more than 190,000 living members around the world. All of you here tonight are forever connected to this university and to this community of scholars and to every member of the Clemson family. And I ask that you use the knowledge that you gained and any research that you performed to make a positive impact on others. Congratulations again, and go Tigers!
Will you please stand and join in the singing of the Clemson Alma Mater? The words will be presented on the screen.
Where the Blue Ridge yawns its greatness, where the tigers play, here the sons of dear old Clemson reign supreme away. Dear old Clemson, we will triumph, and with all our might, that the tigers' roar may echo o'er the mountain height.
Please remain standing if you are able for the recessional of the stage party. This concludes the ceremony. You may now exit the arena. Graduates are asked to exit via the tunnel. Congratulations and go Tigers!